Well, I do maritime archaeology, and maritime archaeology is the study of the material culture that people have left behind on, well, either through seafaring or along the waterways and rivers. Really, we are that counterpoint with terrestrial archaeologists as people have interacted back and forth from terrestrial sites to the waterways for thousands and thousands of years. And it's kind of a interesting field as you have all different dynamics. You can have shallow water sites, you can have sites right on the shore, or you can be working in hundreds of feet of water, and there's all different types of techniques and methods we do. So it's always a challenge. And the ultimate goal, though, is to, like any archaeology, is to try to understand what happened and try to kind of give a voice to those that either on a shipwreck perished, or those that might not have been recorded in history. I got into archaeology. I volunteered for an archaeological project back in 2000 during the summer. I was a teacher and I was looking for something to do over the summer, and I found this really interesting combination. I love to scuba dive, and I saw this project over in Israel at a ancient harbor built by King Herod in the first century BCE, and it was called Caesarea. And I thought, wow, I've never heard of such a thing. Well, I've heard of underwater archaeology, but I never heard of a way to participate. And so I applied for a teaching fellowship, and the school was nice enough to provide a small stipend to get me over there. And when I arrived and had my experience, I was hooked, and I came back, and I just started to look at ways to pursue this through graduate school. So one of the reasons why we should care about archaeology and history, and I'm a firm believer in connections. I think, some of the most powerful moments of learning and of community is where you can establish that connection. And archaeology provides a tangible connection, both through the artifacts, but also what they represent. And they add to that historical record and stories of our own kind of growth as society, as a species. And you can't find that in a lot of different places. So as we look at whether it's an archaeological artifact or a historical event, what we're really looking for are connections that create a continuum between us today and people in the past. And we realize we're not so different. We also realize that maybe we are very different, and we can understand that in really unique ways, especially with the field of archaeology that has so many kind of neat and exciting discoveries to really show us that these connections are ongoing even to today. Well, I've been really lucky to see a lot of wonderful sites, including shipwreck, 99% intact, that sank in 1628. It's over in Stockholm, Sweden, called the Vasa, and that is it's an amazing site. But the one that I found was probably the one that got me involved. As I said, I worked at an ancient harbor in Israel, and as I was excavating my trench, a artifact, a small little Roman oil lamp that just kind of sat gently right in the palm of my hand. And I was looking at this, and I realized it was that moment, the first kind of experience that had a connection to somebody possibly 2,000 years ago. And I just remember just looking at it, and from there, it inspired me to pursue this further. So probably because it was my first tangible experience with that kind of intimate connection to history, that's always had a very and to be, it led me into this career. So it's always been right at the top. But I've as I said, I've been really lucky to look at and to investigate some really amazing, significant archaeological and historical sites through my career. Well, I like to say that archaeology is a chance to really explore forgotten stories or silent voices. I think one of the powerful aspects of archaeology is that you get to investigate. A lot of people say the commonplace or the everyday, but I would say, people who I would relate to, or those that aren't written into history books, and you look at that through the most kind of personal items sometimes. And that, as I said, that connection is a very kind of powerful one. And as you work on an archaeological site, the fascinating aspect is that you develop more questions, but you also develop more respect and kind of a professional and relationship with this site as you get to know not the objects themselves, but you ask questions about the people who use those objects and what happened, what was going on, and all of those aspects really provide an opportunity to give a story that's been lost but yet preserved, whether it's in the soil or underwater, for future generations. So it's a really fun field. There's a lot of excitement with it. There's a lot of work with it. Not all the time is it fun, but then again, at the end, you have that opportunity to share something that no one else would have known without it.
Created using Powtoon.